Hi everyone. Today we're going to learn 5 super useful English idioms that will help you sound much more fluent when speaking English, especially at school or university, during exams, and even when talking to your friends. Idioms are expressions that don't always make sense if you take them literally, but once you understand them, they make your English sound much more natural. Before we begin, I want to share a quick tip to help you remember idioms more easily. Here it is. Try to create a silly or exaggerated picture in your mind based on the words in the idiom, even if the image does not make logical sense. Idioms often sound strange because they aren't meant to be taken literally, but if you turn the literal meaning into a funny or dramatic mental image, it becomes easier to remember. So, for every idiom today, I want you to listen carefully, and as you learn it, imagine a scene in your head, like something from a cartoon or a dream. The weirder it is, the better it sticks in your memory. Okay, now that we've got that trick in mind, let's jump in. Let's start with a really common idiom, break a leg. Now, I know this one sounds a little bit scary, like why would anyone tell you to break your leg? But actually, it's a way to say good luck, especially before a performance, presentation, or a test. People say it to be supportive and no legs are involved, I promise. For example, imagine your friend is about to give an important class presentation. You might say, break a leg, you're going to do great. Or before a spelling bee or English speech contest, your teacher might say, everyone, go break a leg out there. Have you ever heard someone say this to you? Or maybe now you'll start saying it to your classmates before big assignments. Next, we have to breeze through or to sail through something. Both mean the same thing. That is, to do something very easily, like it's not a big deal. In other words, it means to easily succeed at something, to succeed effortlessly. Let's say you just graduated high school and decided to choose chemical engineering in college. You know that this major will be a hard one. Therefore, I don't think you'll be able to breeze through college if you're majoring in chemical engineering. Let me give you another example. Ricardo took Spanish in high school even though he is a native Spanish speaker. Needless to say, he sailed through the course. Idiom number 3 is to catch on. This expression is used when someone begins to understand something, especially something that was really confusing at first. Here's how you can use this idiom. At first, I did not understand the reported speech, but after a few exercises, I finally caught on. Or maybe your teacher is explaining a new concept in math or science, and after a while you say, "Oh, I'm catching on it now." Catch on can actually also mean something becomes popular, like that study technique caught on among students quickly. But today we're focusing on the meaning of understanding, okay? So tell me, what is something you didn't get at first but later you caught on? For the next idiom, I want you to imagine a situation. You are in the middle of an exam, staring at one question for what feels like forever, trying really hard to remember the answer. That is when you are racking your brain. To rack your brain means to think really hard, especially when you're trying to remember something or come up with an idea. You might say, I had to rack my brain to remember the irregular verbs that we learned last month. Or she racked her brain trying to find a good topic for her essay. It is that feeling of mental effort when your brain feels like it's working overtime. So, when was the last time you had to rack your brain in class? Is it now when I'm asking you that question? Alright, here's the final idiom and a super relatable one for students. To burn the candle at both ends. This means you are working too hard or staying up way too late and also waking up too early, and you're starting to feel so tired or worn out because of it. For instance, you could say, I've been burning the candle at both ends this week, studying all night and still waking up for school early. Or, he burned the candle at both ends during finals and ended up getting sick. It's great to be hardworking, but remember, plenty of rest is just as important. If you burn the candle at both ends for too long, you'll eventually run out of energy. And what happens if a candle runs out? The fire dies out. Now, be honest with me. How many of you have burned the candle at both ends before a deadline? Okay, great job everyone. Let's quickly review what we learned today. I'll describe several situations. Your part is to think of which idiom suits those situations. I'll give you 5 seconds to guess. Situation 1. Your friend is about to perform in the school play or maybe give a big presentation in front of the class. You want to wish them good luck, but instead of saying good luck, you say something that sounds a little bit dangerous. It sounds like you want them to get hurt or hurt other people, but you're actually just being supportive. Can you guess the idiom? Yes, it's break a leg, another way of saying good luck. Situation 2. Now picture this. You just finished a test and it felt super easy. You barely had to think and everything just came naturally. Or maybe you were really prepared and answered all the questions without any stress. What idiom reminds you of this? That's right, breeze through or sail through something. Situation 3. Here's the next one. You are in an English class learning something new like conditionals. At first, you are confused. But after a few examples, fortunately you finally understand it. It just clicks in your brain suddenly. Which idiom describes this? The answer is to catch on. Situation 4. Now imagine it's exam week. You're trying to remember all the vocabulary You studied last month. You sit there during the test, thinking so hard it almost hurts. What idiom it is? That's correct. It's rack your brain. Okay, last one. Imagine this. You've been staying up until 2 a.m., 2 in the morning, doing homework and then waking up at 6 a.m. for class every day. You're always tired, but you keep doing it every day regardless. What idiom is it? Very nice. Burn the candle at both ends. Awesome! You now know 5 idioms that are not only fun to use but also perfect for your life as a student. Try using one of these idioms this week in your writing, in conversations, or even just when talking to yourself. The more you practice, the more natural it will feel. Thank you so much for watching and learning with me today. See you next time. And hey, break a leg on your next test. Bye.